The older I get, the more I realize something important about peace. It doesn't belong to the people with the easiest lives. It belongs to the people who have learned how to carry themselves through any life. I've met folks who've walked through divorce, illness, debt, or loneliness, yet still move through the world with a calm that feels almost like a private weather system. You sit next to them and feel steadier, simply because they are steady. And then there are others, good people, kind people, who live as if a storm is always following a few feet behind them. Nothing is ever quite enough. Someone is always doing better. Something is always slightly unfair. And peace slips through their fingers, not because life is cruel, but because their mindset keeps shutting the window every time peace tries to walk in. Today, I want to talk about 5 quiet habits I've seen in people who age with resilience and emotional strength. They're not dramatic changes, they're subtle shifts, simple choices you make again and again until peace becomes your default setting rather than a lucky accident. And the truth is, you don't learn these habits all at once. You grow into them slowly, the way morning light grows across a room. Quietly, gently, almost without you noticing. Let's begin. 1. Letting go of the race. Releasing comparison. People who carry peace don't run in the race everyone else seems obsessed with. They've stepped off the track completely. Somewhere along the way, they realize comparing lives is like comparing sunsets. There's no point, and it ruins the beauty of what's right in front of you. I once knew a woman named Helen, lovely person, kind, hard-working, but she spent years comparing her retirement to her sister's. Her sister traveled constantly, posted photos from Italy, Sweden, Greece. Meanwhile, Helen lived in a quiet neighborhood, tended her garden, and walked her dog every morning. And she felt small, until one day she admitted something out loud. I'm living my sister's life in my head and never living my own. When she stopped keeping score, something softened in her. Her days didn't change, but she did. Suddenly, the life she had felt, gentle, not inadequate. People with peaceful mindsets understand this. Comparison is the enemy of contentment. If you're always measuring yourself against someone else, you will never feel full. So let me ask you, are you living your life or someone else's highlight reel? 2. Protecting your energy, letting go of overanalysis. Emotionally steady people don't waste energy replaying every awkward conversation or perceived slight. They don't hold grudges like heavy luggage. They've learned that most annoyances lose their power if you don't feed them with attention. I once worked with a man who constantly complained that co-workers disrespected him. Someone would forget to say good morning, and it would ruin his whole day. He dissected every tone, every look, every word. One afternoon, I asked, "How much of your day belongs to you, and how much belongs to people who aren't even thinking about you anymore?" That question stunned him. People with peaceful mindsets understand that most emotional exhaustion comes from overcalculating, turning a pebble into a mountain because the mind refuses to let it go. You don't have to analyze everything. You don't have to react to everything. You don't have to hold everything. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Or have I carried it much longer than it deserves? 3. Shifting from complaints to presence. Now, I'm not saying life is perfect. We all struggle. We all get frustrated. But some people let complaints take over the entire landscape of their mind. And here's the quiet truth. Complaining doesn't change your circumstances. It just reshapes your worldview until everything looks a little darker than it really is. I had a retired teacher tell me once, all I do now is talk about what I can't do anymore. She complained about her knees, her errands, her busy children. One day, she decided to shift her focus. Instead of saying, "My knees hurt," she told herself, "I'm grateful I'm still moving." Instead of, "My kids never call," she said, "I'm glad they're building lives." Little by little, the tone of her day changed. And once that shift took root, she started noticing small things she had been blind to for years. Birds in her yard, warm conversations with neighbors, the joy of making a good meal for herself. Presence didn't change her life, but it changed the way she lived it. People with peaceful mindsets aren't living in denial. They're living in presence. They don't keep revisiting the past or rehearsing future disasters. They look at the life in front of them and say, "What can I make of today?" So ask yourself, what if the life you're living already holds more good than your complaints allow you to see? 4. Refusing to diminish yourself, releasing self-pity. This one is tender. Self-pity can sneak up quietly. It tells you other people got better breaks. It convinces you that you're not enough. Too old, too late, too unprepared, too alone. But peaceful people don't talk to themselves that way. They don't shrink. They don't treat themselves like a burden. They honor the fact that they've survived everyday life has thrown at them so far. I once met a widowed woman at a community center. She told me she felt invisible after her husband passed. She doubted everything, her appearance, her abilities, her worth. A counselor suggested she write down one thing she did well each day. At first, she wrote tiny things. I made a good cup of coffee. I folded my laundry. I walked around the block. But those tiny truths added up. Months later, she was leading a small book club and helping new widows feel less alone. She didn't magically become a different person. She simply stopped telling herself the painful story that she was broken. Self-pity keeps you in a shadow. Self-recognition brings you back into the light. If you spoke to yourself the way you speak to the people you love, what would change? 5. Choosing calm over reaction. Not letting anger lead. Anger feels powerful for a moment, but peaceful people understand it almost always costs more than it gives. They've learned to pause, to take a breath before offering the emotion someone else tried to hand them. I saw a man at the grocery store once being snapped at by another shopper who was in a hurry. Instead of snapping back, he simply smiled and stepped aside. Later, he told me, I decided her mood wasn't going to become mine. That's the heart of it right there. Peaceful people don't absorb every emotion they encounter. They don't mirror every irritation. They choose who they want to be, even when others choose poorly. Anger is contagious. So is calm. And one of them will shape your whole day, maybe even your whole life, depending on which one you choose. So ask yourself, is this emotion truly mine, or did I pick it up from someone else? Let's take a breath and gently recap these 5 quiet habits. Letting go of comparison, protecting your energy from over-analysis, shifting from complaints to presence, releasing self-pity and honoring your worth, choosing calm instead of reacting with anger. These habits aren't dramatic. They're not loud. They're not life-changing in a single moment. But practiced daily, they create a mind that can hold itself steady through the loss, uncertainty, and everything in between. And the beautiful thing is, peace doesn't require perfection. It just requires willingness. A willingness to choose a better thought, a softer reaction, a kinder way of speaking to yourself. Peace isn't something you chase. It's something you cultivate through small, consistent choices. So let me ask you, which one of these habits are you ready to practice today? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care, my friends, and may peace meet you gently wherever you are.